Rumors are that allegedly both Kenya and Porsha received huge paydays to lead the new reboot of Real Housewives of Atlanta. How much did they get? And are they worth it? I have some new information that may answer all of those questions and more right after this. What's up, kinfolk? And welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, do me a favor and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, do me a favor and get notified, so you'll know whenever I upload new videos to the channel. All right, kinfolk, come on into the house. We have a lot to talk about, and it centers around rumors that allegedly both Kenya and Porsha received huge payday offers to return to the Real Housewives of Atlanta franchise. How much are the offers? And are they worth it? I have some new information that may answer all of those questions and more. And here it goes. Rumors are that allegedly Real Housewives of Atlanta producers are going all in and betting on the future of the franchise with Kenya and Porsha. The source elaborated. It's clear that the network wants to go in a new direction. With the exit of Kandi, thoughts are that it's time for a new full reboot. Kandi's exit was somewhat of a shocker, however, not totally surprising. However, the most surprising detail was the fact that it seemed production was going to use frenemies Kenya and Porsha to lead the new reboot. The source continued, and this task wasn't easy or cheap. With Kandi's huge alleged $2.5 million salary space now free, Kenya and Porsha held all the negotiation cards. So the question is, did they get everything they wanted in their negotiations? Well, rumors are that allegedly Kenya and Porsha both received huge payday offers to return. But why? The source said, first, Kenya is the ultimate cast producer. She knows how to make good television, and the network loves her just as much as they love Kandi. Bringing her back was a no-brainer and needed. Bringing on an almost new cast to the franchise was going to call for a person like Kenya who isn't afraid to produce drama to help acclimate the newbies to the franchise. And secondly, said the source, Porsha's huge payday offer was actually required because she is the only young veteran housewife who is and has a younger connection to the newbies. And this younger connection to the newbies is important. They can't attach themselves to Porsha to make organic scenes work. And with Drew and Eva allegedly out of the runnings to return, Porsha was the more natural fit to lead the nieces, ended the source. Now, do the fans agree? Sources believe the majority of the Real Housewives of Atlanta audience feels the two ladies, Kenya and Porsha, who helped save and elevate the franchise back during season 5, are primed to recreate this task again. And all the money is on them to save and restore the franchise back to the #1 spot. But the question now is, can they do it? Will their efforts be worth their huge paydays? Well, said the source, we will just have to wait and see. Now, kinfolk, this is some information that came across my desk over the weekend regarding Porsha and Kenya's alleged huge salary offers from the network. And the first part is rumor. We're going to just jump right into it. And it has to do with my honest feelings about Porsha rejoining the franchise. And it's this. Kinfolk, I'll be honest with you. You know, Porsha's alleged huge payday, I understand it, but quite honestly, I wasn't too excited about Porsha rejoining the Real Housewives of Atlanta franchise. You know, Porsha is not that of an exciting housewife to me. I feel like, much like Phaedra, she has learned to play the game of let's keep my image in one lane and not give the viewers and the audience too much of my real story to where I'm having to be called to the mat or called in front of the cameras to reveal some things that I probably want to keep quiet. And she's very good at deflecting a lot. So when I thought about it, I was like, Porsha, I understand the salary payday, but I don't think it's going to be worth it, especially if she comes in with that same attitude that she left off the franchise with. However, it took some time for me to realize, and thank you, Kinfolk, for doing this. A lot of you wrote in some of the comments that, Porsha and Kenya make sense simply because during season 5, it was Porsha and Kenya, when they came into the franchise, they really did help elevate and turn things around once Kim exited. And when I look back at that season, you're absolutely right. Kenya and Porsha, why they are frenemies and why I feel like it will work is because they're not like good friends like Candy and Kenya to where they have boundaries. Kenya and Porsha really don't have any type of boundaries between the two, so they're not going to be afraid to really take it there. And so this can be good when you're trying to produce drama. But the thing about Kenya and Porsha is that they have history. So this drama is going to come off very organic, and fans are going to understand why they're beefing. Unlike when fans were confused as to why Marlo and Kenya just could not get along. So when you look at it, I guess Porsha is a better fit, especially when you want to bring in new, younger housewives who can attach themselves to that young image that Porsha portrays. Now, Kinfolk, the next part of this rumor has to do with Kenya's huge alleged payday, and it's this. Kenya is definitely worth the money that she's allegedly getting. And the reason why she's worth the money, I have to agree with my sources 110%, is that Kenya understands how to produce real good reality television. She understands what is required of her and her own personal narrative, and she also knows what's required of her doing group drama and helping to produce her castmates. And I think Kenya coming from a producer background is what helps her out in this aspect. And so Kenya is definitely worth the money. And I feel like that her being the new principal housewife, she's basically leading the franchise right now. It just simply makes sense. Kenya is one of those people who, she's a star, but she doesn't have to constantly remind you. It's like her presence is felt. Like if you see Kenya in the center holding that peach, you know that she is in charge of the girls. Now, a lot of people like hearing that because they like to keep Nene in that position, which I do feel like Nene for the longest was a star of Real Housewives of Atlanta. And when you think about Real Housewives of Atlanta, the first thing that comes to mind is Nene. However, when you think about their position now in a more professional role and now to where the Real Housewives franchise has gone, the principal housewife or the lead housewife or quote unquote the queen of the franchise has to move in a more professional way, and she has to move in a more strategic way. Two things that Nene quite didn't understand. And when the Real Housewives first started and it was uncharted waters, that Nene's whole persona worked. But now since the Real Housewives franchise has entered into a new era where they're more commercially viable, they need someone who is more commercially appealing, I think, in my opinion, and that is Kenya. Now, Kinfolk, the next part of this rumor has to do again with Porsha, and again why I think her return may work, and it's this. I think Porsha's return can work if she is willing to open up more about the true nature of her relationship with Simon. She has to open up more about, behind the scenes of her being a stepmom, a new wife, and her being a mom altogether, as well as her being a businesswoman. Porsha has to understand if she's going to be brought back to help lead the franchise next to Kenya, then she's going to have to come in and she's going to have to work to show everyone that she is deserving of that co-Queen of Real Housewives of Atlanta title. And I think that, honestly, she made it. It's 50-50, right? I think she understands that production and network they're in a rough spot right now. So she can use that to her advantage. It's kind of like, well, you all need me. I don't technically need you all. So I'm willing to negotiate, right? I want this and this on camera, and I want this and this off camera. And when you catch producers and the network with their backs against the wall, I feel like they tend to really, go along with your wishes and demands, especially if you're one of those housewives who has a huge fan base, a huge following and carry a lot of weight within the franchise and with the audience across the Real Housewives universe. Now, kinfolk, with that being said, I do feel like if she comes back in and she really just try not to play ball too much with the network and producers and allow them to film her truth, then I think that, you know, it would be great for her return. I think it would be great for a great addition to bring her back. Now, kinfolk, the last part of this rumor, you know, that I do feel like I like about a Porsha and a Kenya duo, and it has to do with Phaedra, and it's this. It seems that since the news broke that allegedly producers are wanting to bring Kenya and Porsha back as the duo to lead and usher in this new phase of Real Housewives of Atlanta, I have totally stopped hearing things about Phaedra coming back, which is a good thing. I'm not too much of a Phaedra fan, especially in the Real Housewives of Atlanta universe. You know, I'm under the impression that Phaedra is a very dangerous woman to have around. I mean, you know, a lot of people think that, you know, she is just playing into that villain aspect, but it's a different type of villain that I cannot trust when it comes to Phaedra. For Kenya, for example, she's a villain, right? But it's not like she's a malicious villain. She's not trying to do things that are detrimental to a person's career or could be detrimental to a person's career or personal brand, right? Same thing with, I would say Kyle to a certain extent. Phaedra gives me like that Giselle Bryant villain, that malicious villain who is set out to create and cause like real harm to a person's livelihood and a person's personal image, all in the sake of good television and all in the sake of some of their, like, in my opinion, insidious feelings and attitudes towards certain women and their families. So that being said, I'm not a big fan of Phaedra returns to Real Housewives of Atlanta. So if that means Porsha and Kenya being brought back to lead in the new phase of Real Housewives of Atlanta with newbies centered around them, then so be it. I think it's the best call and the right call for the network to make in order to help move the franchise forward. But kinfolk, I want to know what you guys think. If you are to believe this rumor that Kenya and both Porsha are being brought back to lead this new era of Real Housewives of Atlanta, do you think their huge alleged paydays are worth it, or do you think it won't be worth it? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. All right, kinfolk, as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys over on the next one. Peace.